PiterPy 4 held in St. Petersburg. It's annual Python conference. And my name is Dmitry Nazarev. And this is Dev Talk room, where we are having interesting conversations with developers and tech people. And here I am with Katharine Jarmul, came from Berlin, right?
Yes, yeah.
So introduce yourself a little bit, please.
Yeah, so my name is Katharine, and some people on the internet know me by Kjam, so that's my nickname is Kjam, and my company is Kjamistan, and I do data science consulting and machine learning based in Berlin.
You have your own company, if I heard correctly.
Yeah.
So that's great.
I run my own company as of 4 years ago, and around the time that I moved to Berlin, and it's really fun. I get to help people with data science problems and machine learning problems, so that's what I like to do, so it's nice to be paid for what you like to do.
And your talk, if I recall, it was about data science, right?
Yes, yeah, so it's about machine learning and how it's called explaining the black box. So it's about interpretability in machine learning, both in research and in practice.
So how was it? What's the feeling? What's your feeling about audience? What about how the talk proceeded? How was it?
I thought it was a lot of fun. There was definitely some machine learning practitioners in there, and they probably sympathize a little bit more with the problems. And then I think there's some new to machine learning people that hopefully got a good introduction to the difficulty of the space and also what might be useful tools for these types of problems.
Okay, so you are a Pythonist yourself, right?
Yes.
You use Python for how long, would you say?
I've been using Python for a decade now. So
whoa, for a decade.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Impressive.
Old
really.
school Python, yeah.
And what about Python do you like the most?
I like the flexibility of Python. I like that, especially with the data science tool ecosystem, which has been growing over the past, I would guess, 7 or 8 years. The fact that I can very quickly switch libraries and experiment with a few different things. I love all of the data science tools, and now especially also the machine learning tools that are really easy to install and use. Which makes it kind of easy to experiment until you have a good idea of what you're trying to do. And I would say that not many languages have that level of flexibility to kind of experiment quickly, rapid prototyping and so forth, until you actually have to find the problem.
You mentioned other languages, and let's say considering data science and machine learning context, are there any competitors to Python? Any other languages, you say?
So there's definitely, some people that are very, very heavy in academia tends to err towards Java, also MATLAB, sometimes R, depending on their background. But most of these tools do not have the same level of flexibility, or they don't have the speed or scale. So,
and what about ecosystem? What about libraries?
It depends. I would say that Python is becoming, the language du jour, or what people are starting to use more and more. So I think last year was the first time that a data science survey, there was more Python people than R people. And I think that's because, especially compared to R, Python scales well. And then because a lot of the data science libraries use Python, this is allowing it to be fast and competitive. And then we have libraries like TensorFlow, which of course have their own C++ bindings and their own compilers, but at the same time we can use them with Python. So it's really cool that even some of the ones that are based in C or C++, that they have the first language that they usually go support is Python. So it's really nice because you have Python bindings for Spark, you have which is Scala based. You have Python bindings for TensorFlow, which is C++ based, but now some parts of it are also raw Python.
Well, in the way Python became a standard for machine learning, I guess. What about web? I mean, the Pythonic web and the Pythonic data science, are they somehow overlapping, interacting? You mentioned data science. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Machine learning as a service.
Yes.
And this is deeply connected with web, right?
Yeah.
So what about web?
So I think that one really cool thing that I'm starting to see is I'm starting to see more data science people ask about like Lambda or serverless architectures, like how do we deploy models? And there's a few people that I know that are actively working on startups that are helping you scale and deploy your models. So either using Ansible or SaltStack or whatever, how do we allow DevOps tools and then also web service tools to be easy to understand for a statistician or a machine learning specialist that probably has never really built a server in their life. So it's really cool to start to see these links happen between the ecosystems and people starting to share these same tools and work on them. And I'm actually working with a client right now that is also building a test suite in Async.io for rapid prototyping of load, essentially, database load, and being able to use Async.io with AIO multiprocessing to get, for them, really high performance regression tests on their ingestion rate.
Okay, that's deep answer, and it fully answered my question about interaction between web and data science. You actually mentioned Berlin's startup, and I'd love to say I visited Berlin like in September for the first time in my life, and I was there for 2 weeks, and I absolutely loved it. Because Berlin is really amazing. If you weren't in Berlin, you should visit it. And I'm gonna ask you about the scene of Berlin, the job scene, the startup scene, and maybe the communities. What's it like in Berlin?
So I help run PyData Berlin, which is which is the biggest PyData conference in Europe right now.
Whoa.
It's pretty cool, and I would say it skews on the highly technical side of PyData. So I think there are some PyDatas that are more business oriented, and some PyDatas that are more technical. I would say Berlin falls like closer to academia and technical, and this is because we have so many cool universities. And I think
you mean more scientific talks?
Yeah, I would definitely say that more people with a research perspective. Which,
is it good or?
I think it's good because I like to read academic papers for my free time. But probably some other people would be like.
I don't think I can see people like that very often.
Yeah. So.
You see, I'm more of a pragmatic, practical guy myself. But I'm doing web, so what do I know?
Well, no, I think probably there's a good balance somewhere, and I think that's what we also try to have at the conference. But within the meetup groups in Berlin, I mean, it's very active with tech meetup groups, and I mean, I feel like there's a technical conference every week. I hear about a new one, so it's kind of nice in the fact that there's so much going on. If you want to go to a technical event, you probably have one nearly every night of the week, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, I understand. This is amazing. Well, actually, I myself visited Django Meetup Berlin and Python Meetup Berlin. I even gave a talk about SGI at Python Meetup Berlin.
Awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. And so you know Dinu?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
We've talked and contacted.
Yeah. Dinu's really cool.
And so community scene in Berlin is pretty neat.
Yeah.
But could you compare it with some community scene within other countries or other cities?
Yeah, it's hard for me to do so fairly because obviously I'm like very rooted in Berlin, so it's hard to get a perspective.
There's some differences.
So I'm originally from Los Angeles. That's where I grew up, and I also did some organizing in Los Angeles. I helped form PyLadies there, and so I can definitely compare to that. And what I would say is, I would say it is more active in Berlin, and I would say it is less business oriented in Berlin. So I would say, and I would compare that too with a few of the other cities. So like,
what exactly do you mean by less business oriented? You mean there are more discussions about technical details, or what is business oriented?
That's difficult to say. So Berlin has a lot of young startups, and it has a lot of academics. And I think that makes it really interesting space to talk about like new possibilities. But sometimes, for example, like I was recently at a conference in Munich, and some of the people there were like, well, Berlin is kind of all ideas and not a lot of business. And I would say that maybe that's a fair criticism. I would say maybe it's changing. We'll see with Brexit and everything if maybe that means more businesses move to Berlin. I don't know.
From London.
Yeah, but I would say that, yeah, it's probably like less impacted by financial industries or venture capital and these types of things as other parts.
Glad you mentioned venture capital, because even after Brexit, London is still like 10 times more powerful in terms of venture, in terms of everything. So I wouldn't say startups will flew from London, actually.
Yeah, we'll see.
And about business orientation, I guess this is not a city thing rather than country thing. So maybe. Americans is by the core, I guess, more business result oriented.
Yeah, you're definitely right. There's definitely like this cultural difference between just like do the fastest thing to make the most money versus like let's think it through and like maybe build something that we, you know, can make decisions on for the next decade. I think you're right on.
So how do you feel so far about this conference? And is it sorry if I ask if I may ask, is it your first visit in Russia?
So it's my first ever time in Russia.
Whoa,
I know,
great.
I'm really excited. I went to...
You chose the right city for that.
I know, it's been amazing. Just I've only been here 24 hours so far, and I think it's just an amazing city. It's beautiful, people are really friendly. I feel bad because I always have to ask for the English menu, and they're like, what are you doing? But the food has been excellent, the people have been really friendly, and this conference has been really fun. So I like that there's like such a mix of talks. So like the talk before mine was about DevOps. There will be one shortly that's also about machine learning, and it's nice when you can have a community that comes together with Python and that we share like different perspectives of the same language. I think that that's really powerful.
Oh, well, that's again a great answer. And I'd like to ask you the question about what is your further expectations? Because this is still the first day, and what do you expect, what do you like to see at the conference later?
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to, there's a few data science talks tomorrow, and I've chatted with some of the speakers of those, and so I'm really excited to learn about using pandas the wrong way, and a few other of the talks. I think there's a reinforcement learning talk in the morning, which I'm pretty excited about, and just like to meet and chat with more people, and especially fellow organizers. Like it's always fun to talk about. Yeah, like
it is very fun to talk about you too.
So much work like goes into organizing, and like because it's a lot of hard work, and this is an awesome conference. So
thank you a lot.
Yeah, of course,
Thanks a lot.
Of course.
So this is PiterPy.